Welcome back to All of the Above with me, Emma Kyo. This week I am riding solo as you seem to always love my solo episodes, and I thought long and hard, what is it I want to bring to you today? And it is why self-worth is the biggest game changer, not only in relationships, but the relationship you have with yourself. It is going to change everything. I tell you now, not only for you, but for your inner confidence towards yourself and the outside world. And I actually have so many notes here. I know I'm one that I can speak things off and I can rhyme things off, but I feel I really have to unpack a lot here today because I did touch on this episode in a previous podcast there a few years ago, but I feel there's a lot more to go into because, like I said, I went through my single journey. I talked about dating, but the relationship with myself has changed over the last few years and how I've worked through breakups and relationships as well. This episode is for anyone who's ever doubted themselves in love or in life and struggled with knowing their worth. So I do actually have a confession to make. I think that I always settled in relationships and I settled with people. I settled people pleasing as I never really felt enough. And that is being truly honest with you. I probably felt alone and I never knew what the feeling of being alone was. And for years in my 20s and 30s, that was my norm, just being in relationships or being around people and people pleasing. That was normal to me. So when things happened in my life and I had to go inward, it was so alien to me. I never experienced what it was like being alone. And like I said, I didn't know anything different. But over the last few years, I really feel I have found who I am and I have found what worth really means to me. It means a lot of things, and I'm going to unpack that today for you as well and give you some tools, some tricks, and some insights into not only my own past and my teachings and what has made me who I am today. Because a big thing around self-worth, and I'm going to have it here, the difference in self-worth and self-esteem, they're two separate things, but they mean the same thing. So self-esteem is how good or confident you feel within yourself or based on what others think of you. But then self-worth is knowing that you are enough no matter what. So you can see the total differences between things. We always, when we think of self-esteem, I think a lot of us do go to other people for validation. And even me being on social media, I would put my hand up and say, yeah, I wanted to be validated, especially those Instagram years, especially 10 years ago with the outfits, with everything like that. But I really feel that's changed now. I don't really look for that much external validation because I know who I am and I love who I am. So today is about knowing your worth, how you show up in life, how you treat yourself, and how you want to be treated. So how I'm going to go there is I'm going to bring you on a journey of where this all started with me. And we'll make it till the end and take out my key findings as always. So the first one is my journey around doubting myself. I think this came from a young age. So I am the eldest of 4 siblings and my mom and dad are separated. They would have separated when I was 19. And sometimes you doubted yourself all the time because that family dynamic, my mom and dad breaking up, and doubting that security and that stability that was there. It just really would have affected me, but not as much probably as I would have thought of. That can come up in latter years. This is the thing. So that would have been a part of my adult life that would have been brought into my 20s and I'd say 30s, but I'm totally fine with it now. I do think a lot of us process our parents breaking up in different ways, but it definitely did lie with me with doubts and doubts around love. So being brought up in that family dynamic where my parents split up and like they're amicable now, it's all good. Like they both have partners as well and long-term partners. And I think towards me, it was around love and worthiness of love. So that was a big factor for me. When I got into relationships when I was 18, that was my first long-term relationship. And I did like him. I did love him as well. But I remember we broke up. It was 2 years in. And I remember he said to me, I don't love you anymore. And this came out of the blue. I just thought, what? Where is this after coming? So it came out of the blue and broke up. I was absolutely heartbroken. I was 20 years of age. I went off on holidays to Tenerife with the girls. And then I think I went on 1 or 2 dates. I was single about 3 or 4 months. And then he came back out of the blue. And I, chatted to him. I met up with him. But I knew I didn't want to be with him anymore. But what did I do? I went back. I went back and we just got back into the habit, and I was with him for another 3 years. And the thing is, even I knew towards the end, and like, whether you're a man or a woman, I knew towards the end, I was like, this is more friends. I just know I wasn't in love with him and attracted to him in that way. And I just knew it had to end. So even I was quite aware from a young age, but at the same time, those 3 years, I went back, even though I know I shouldn't have, do you know, that way. So I settled because more or less I probably wanted to be loved. He was a nice guy, but my body was telling me different. So I definitely learned from that. And then I was single for another bit of time and got into relationships, probably for a little bit longer than what I should have. But I do believe that relationships are our biggest teacher, not only about the other person, but about how we show up towards ourselves and how we navigate our own self as well. Because there is two relationships that you always have when you are in a relationship with a partner. There's the one you have with them, and then the one you have with yourself. I do think a lot of us forget about that, about the relationship with ourselves. Sometimes we might lose that light and focus on our partner, and we forget who we are on the inside. Whether you're married, you have children, you can kind of lose touch of who Emma is. Who are you? What, how do I show up? What do I like anymore? What lights me up or what's fun? We lose part of that. And that's what really started to come into play for me, I'd say, over the last 2-3 years, regardless of even being single, which was a huge part of my life, even though I'm in a relationship now. I know I sound like a serial relationship person, but I am 40 this year. So hello. And I think over the last few years, as I've gotten a little bit older and more aware, I've really seen these parts of me come up, and I had to deal with them. I had to deal with issues around worth and self-doubt and self-sabotage and why I did it and why maybe sometimes I continue to do it, but we're all human. This is the thing. You have to know when to catch yourself and bring yourself back in. So that part of me about doubting around love, I don't think I've ever said it out loud. That's being honest. And I knew it was a realization for me when I was writing out these notes there last night. And I wanted to be vulnerable with you guys because we always share a lovely sacred space together when I'm in your ears, that I haven't said this out loud, but it's so empowering to say it. I would have been a type of person that always wanted to be like the go-getter, like I'll do everything, they'll sit back, in my alpha masculine energy, where now I'm learning to just really trust myself, not doubt myself as much as I used to, and really playing into where I feel that I am enough no matter what, no matter who comes in. And this is like friends, family, people in your work. You have to know that you are good enough. And that's something my therapist would have said to me when I was in therapy a few years ago. Everything had to be perfect. And I definitely grew up in an era of perfectionism and trying to overachieve. I especially think that because I'm the eldest. Maybe it might be different for people, but I feel I'm the one that I want a lot more. And being the perfectionist and wanting everything perfect and to go to plan. When I was in therapy, I remember my therapist saying to me, Emma, you don't have to clean the whole house. You don't have to, tick all the boxes and plan everything and it to be pigeonholed. What is good enough for you? And that really made me think, okay, what is good enough? Not only for the external, whether it's your house that you're cleaning, whether it's something else, but you have to go inside and say, what's good enough for me? What is enough for me? I am enough, because I never did feel enough, especially as a curvier girl. Growing up, I would have been overweight. I've talked about this before. And I would have always labeled myself as the fat girl. And a big thing I always stemmed off, especially whether it was in relationships. I always had that, like what I said on my previous podcast with Yoga with Maura, I was chatting about it, is the fat fear. Seeing like, do people see me as fat? Do people see me as that, curvy girl, or what way do they see me? I felt I had to like overgive and overcompensate to be liked. And that was a big thing where I just wanted people to see me for who I am. But I didn't really feel it myself. Do you get me? So I didn't really feel that myself. And that brought me on a long journey of sabotaging myself and basically going off the scales. So for me, for years, I would have went off my weight by my worth, because your weight is not your worth. And I remember a time I actually was listening to Oprah, and something like, or I was listening to a podcast, I don't know what it was, and something came up and it said, when you do pass, when people are there and remembering you, they're not going to remember what designer handbags that you had, or what clothes you were wearing, or if you were late for their brunch. They're going to remember how you made them feel. And I went, oh my God, yeah. Like, how do I make people feel? Or how do I want to make people feel? And then I thought of Oprah, where Oprah, she's like a curvy woman herself, and she would have struggled with her own weight. And she opens up about this. She was, the amount of people that she like touched and helped their lives and turned her around, where a lot of people didn't look at her for her size or her shape. It was her essence and how she was helping people and how she made them feel. So when I put those two things into my mind, I was like, oh my God, my weight is not my worth. I am a good person. Like, I am helping people between my workshops, my events, I coach, and just being with my family and friends, being there, being a good friend, listening to them, holding space, doing things for them when I can, sharing a light, making people laugh. I am a good person. So when I started going into that, then something started to shift in me. And this was a few years ago. I said, I am a good person. I am enough as I am now. And I am a work in progress, because we are. The biggest project you will ever work on is yourself. But regardless of your weight, you can always change your weight. This is the thing. It's your insides. You have to constantly change on that. And I mentioned this before. We're so obsessed, I think, with our physical selves. And I would have been that girl as well, going to the gym twice in one day, should I say, watching my calories, killing myself, absolutely killing myself. And I wouldn't even have -1 pound on the scales. Then I started to slow down and not measure my weight measure my worth off my weight, and go internal, look at my emotions, look at my behaviors, look at my, insides, my mental state. And that's where it all started to change for me, regarding how I showed up and how I learned to love myself, because self-love is a huge thing. Not only it's for everybody, you have to learn to love yourself, or else how are you supposed to love someone else? So that was a huge part of my journey, between the doubt around love and being in relationships, and then going on to my weight as well, which would have been huge. So when I check back into then dating, like I said, the times that I stayed, and I really shouldn't have stayed. But I do think that this is all part of my journey where I am right now, where like I probably wouldn't be where I am today and how my mind is if I didn't go through all this. And I do think there's going to be listeners out there today that you're going to have something going on in your life and you feel you might not be able to get through it. Or if you're reflecting on something, what you've been through, that you're finding it really hard, or type of shame or guilt saying, why did I let that happen to me? I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't. You can't do that to yourself, because we can't change the past. All you can do is acknowledge it and just accept it and learn to work through it. And that's something I've learned to do, instead of trying to really ruminate on the past, which I would have done. This is the thing. Why did I do this? Why didn't I see these things? Why? You're going to exhaust yourself. A big thing even in mindfulness, which really helped me when I did my diploma in that, because I'm a mindfulness teacher. It was around the 7 pillars of mindfulness, and a few of them in there is trust, patience, letting go, and acceptance. They're four things that are so big because I always was basically in scraps with myself and wanted to change things, wanted to change dynamics, wanted to change how I showed up. Why didn't I do this? Constantly in an open loop. I was like a hamster on a wheel and I couldn't jump off it. But when I learned to just acknowledge and accept, going, it is what it is. I have to surrender here. I can't change the past, but I can change how I show up in everyday life and accept the present as it is, because that's going to create the future for you as well. And sometimes we just have to learn to be in it, learn to be in things, because I do think when things happen in relationships and not only in life, I do think they teach you about the person you are today. And I think even around, like, I've been going through grief, as I said, my nana passed away last year, and that has been up and down and in and out. But it's learning to kind of live in it a bit, but not sit in it. And that is like your self-worth, your self-doubt, all those things. We have to learn to live with it instead of constantly doubting ourselves in it, because we are wired as humans to constantly go by the negative. And I would have been that girl for the majority of my life, to constantly wake up and doubt myself. What am I doing? What do I need to achieve? How am I going to get there? Do I look okay? Do I need to lose weight? What do they think of me? Am I going to say something wrong? The fear of judgment. Like, my brain just constantly like havoc. That's why I think sometimes I'm like, do I need to get tested for like ADHD or something? But I feel that's another ball game as well. But I just over questioned and analysed everything about myself. And I really started doing that a few years ago when I touched on, I went through a breakup, but I've really grown through that. I'm totally healed, and I don't like keep going over these things, but it's just a big part of who I am now and how I got through it. I would have been obsessed with feeling, healing, going through all those things, but over analysing everything, my behaviours, my emotions. What did they say? What did she say? So hypervigilant about everything that I started to nearly lose part of myself, of what I was trying to do. Do you get me? I started to get over confused about what I was doing, and I thought everything was supposed to be making sense. But I think when you're in that messy middle, learning about yourself and who you are, it's supposed to be confusing. It's supposed to be, what the fuck, basically. And I lived through that for years. I thought I'd never come out the other end. And now I'd say like the last year and a half, I'm like, yeah, I finally feel me. This is what the work is. This is what I have done. Because you have to start getting curious about questions and asking yourself, who am I? What do I want to do? How do I want to show up? How do I want to feel? Is there things I need to change? What relationships are important to me? What do they mean to me? Do I need to show up more? These are a lot of questions that we don't ask ourselves, but we'd ask our friend. And I know I nearly probably sound like a therapist sitting here asking you all these type of questions, but they're questions that I would have got asked, whether it was therapy, by my friends, when I done my courses. So I love nearly over analysing myself, but I don't do a half as much anymore, because that's why I have my journal. I journal most days. This is my podcast notebook now. But that has really been a huge part of my life, is journaling. I have found out who I am, how I want to show up, how I want to change, how I got there, what did I do? And it's like all different chapters of my life. That honestly has been my savior. God, it'd be nearly 6 years I'm journaling, and it's life changing. If you really feel you just want to get things down on paper and start to understand yourself, I'm telling you now, start journaling. So you can see where I'm going with this. Then another thing around self-worth, it was around people pleasing. So I would have been the biggest people pleaser. I wanted to be liked because, like I said, when I was younger, I would have got a bit bullied, would have been heavier. And then nearly looking at the likes of my sisters, like drop dead gorgeous, my mom, fab. Like I was always like the broader one, should I say. And I felt I had to overcompensate with being funny, being crack. I masked a lot of my life, but I didn't know what that was. And then outside of that, I would have people pleased. I would have been the yes person. I'll do that for you. I'll do that because I wanted to be liked. I just craved wanting to be liked. And, if someone didn't like me, that would upset me. It's nearly like that rejection fear as well. And the more I went into that, it really hurt if someone didn't like me. But obviously that's a reflection on them. Because like I said before, some people like tea, some people like coffee, some people don't like caffeine. But it's learning to accept the other person's point of view. I couldn't. I just was like, how don't they like me? What is the story here? So I used to feel I'd have to overcompensate. Oh, do you want this? And do things for people and over explain myself. Even if you couldn't make catch up with your friend. Sorry, I can't meet you today, but I have to do this. You don't need to over explain yourself, but I've only found all of this over time. Moving from people pleasing is I used to ignore my inner voice. So we all have a little inner voice inside us to say to us, come here, listen, you need to chill out. Why are you giving so much to other people? I ignored that. The more I ignored that, this is where anxiety and panic attacks started to come out. I'd push through and be like, I'll be fine. And I even spoke about this before, about I'd go out on a night out, and I'm not a huge going out person, and my time limit is around 1:00. I want to get a taxi. I want to go home. But if that is taken out of my control and I just say, oh, I'll just go with it, I guarantee it, my anxiety soars because I feel like I'm not in control. Now, I know sometimes you have to let go. I totally get that. But then there's times if I can't control the scenario or I've been triggered before, this shows up in my body. So for years, I used to ignore my inner voice, and panic attacks, anxiety attacks would come out. And I remember speaking to my mom about it, and she was like, Emma, that used to happen to me in my 30s as well. So I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But I find lately, the more I listen to myself going, okay, how do I feel today? What do I need? What's going on? Do I need to change anything? Is there things that I can do and can't do? What do I feel comfortable with? And a big thing I always ask myself is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel today? 1 being low, 10 being amazing. I do this in my classes every week. So I gauge myself on the number I'm at. So let's say today I'm a 6 or 7. Why is that? I just feel a bit tired and it's raining outside. I'm a bit hungry. Do you know that way? But I know why I am that number. There might be another day where I'm a 9 out of 10. Okay, what did I do that day? There might be a day I'm a number 1. But that's okay. Those numbers are always going to change. And that is exactly like life. We go up, we go down, we go in, we go out. But it's learning to acknowledge and accept and honor that number, not force it. But remember, you can always change it as well, saying, if I'm a 3 today, what do I need to do? I actually need to go out, maybe go for a walk or have a coffee with my friend. Start going into your toolbox and saying, right, what have I got that makes me happy? What do I need to do? Where it gets your brain going. And that's something I really learned when I done my life coaching course as well, learning to be a lot more aware and start asking yourself questions that you would your best friend. And I started to do that over the last few years. And this is how the magic happened. When I explored all those questions and asking myself, so I had to reply and get those answers in between the messy middle. So exploring that and exploring the self-doubt, the people pleasing, you can see where I'm going with this now. I'm going to flick my page. A big thing then is going into that now is self-worth in relationships and dating. Right, I'm crossing my arms for this. I feel that was a big factor for me because self-worth wouldn't have really came into play for me when I was in relationships. I kind of just cracked on. I did settle for some parts of my relationships, but I learned a lot more as I got older, and those inner voices kept shouting at me even more and more. So I knew as I got older that I had to start listening to them, or that was going to show up in my body. This is the thing, the body is going to keep score. We've all been either in relationships or had situations where you think you're fine, but you start asking yourself, why am I feeling jittery? Why is my breath shortening? Why do I feel nervous? There's something going on in your body to give you signals to be like, this is not right. There's something going on. Where we constantly don't listen to those signals. We listen to our head. We need to come back into our bodies. And that's one thing I always lived in was my head. Just constantly talk around in circles like that hamster wheel instead of coming back into my body going, how do I feel right now? What's going on? Oh, I feel a bit nervous going here. I don't want to go. So many things. Start coming back into your body, especially around people, places, things, and start honoring yourself. So a big thing in self-worth, relationships and dating was your boundaries. Huge. They shouldn't feel scary at all, having boundaries. You're allowed protect yourself. You're allowed respect yourself. You're allowed say, how you feel, what you want. And if the other person doesn't respect that, that is their problem. It's not your problem. A lot of us, I think when we're in dating, whether you're exactly male or female, you might feel afraid to say certain things. Oh, you don't want to rock the boat. You want to protect the peace. But whose peace are you protecting? A lot of us have been grown up in that generation of, brushing it under the carpet. As my mom says, less said, easier amended. But you're actually running away from yourself. This is your life, so you're in charge of it. You have to speak out for yourself. And a lot of us are afraid of owning our own voice and owning our truth. I had, partial to play in that as well. And there was parts of me that I didn't show and I did mask. And I just didn't want to rock the boat. Come here, we've all been there where you're like, I'm actually not going to say anything. And then it builds over time. And then this form of resentment comes in. And they could be in a good mood and you just blow because you're not communicating your needs. It's so important as well. Another thing is it's important to notice red flags. We go through a lot now where we try to put a plaster or a band-aid over the red flags and think to ourselves, right, maybe next time, or they're going to change. Because we're actually more or less in limerence or in love or lust of the idea of who that person could be, not what they are right now. And that is huge. We've all been there. And instead of accepting a person for their actions and their behaviors, we're constantly thinking, oh, I'll let that pass. It's fine, because we just either want love or we want to settle or find someone we think time is ticking out. But I do think we're getting a lot better in this generation of being a lot more aware of what we want. And that is a huge thing as well, knowing that. Because moving to the next point is value, having value not only in yourself. I'm not too sure if I touched on this before, but knowing what your values are. They change all the time, but you're going to have 5 core values. So if you're in the car or listening to this in, at home or cleaning, in the next while, I want you to maybe take a piece of paper or even in your notes app and write down the things, what you value in life, what make up you, what is it you really cherish and adore, what's important to you and how they show up. So my top 5 core values, just to tell you what they are, is authenticity, being real, just being myself. Like I said, I'm in my zero fucks era, trying to be. Number 2 would be like connection, kindness, family, friends, travel, adventure. Like you can see where I'm going with this. And it's asking yourself, by me describing my core values to you, do you think I represent them? Do you think I'm aligned with them? And if you say yes, then that means I'm honoring my values, or what is really important to me, I'm living by. Where some things you might write down and say, oh, that's not really important to me. Well, then what else is important? And start getting curious about what's important to you. Then when we move to the likes of dating and relationships, this is going to have a big part to play when you are only like dating, or if you're wanting to find someone, or even in the relationship you have now. And it's sitting down and thinking, yeah, you might want to find a girl or a guy with a really good job. They don't have children. They make a lot of money. They come in on a horse and they give you loads of money. Yeah, that's probably in a dream world. But maybe they have all that, but they're not kind. They're not generous. They're not aware. They don't spend quality time with you. Is that something that you value over that? So you have to be really mindful of what is it you're looking for and those attributes as well. When I started to go into that myself, about values, what meant a lot to me, not only for myself, but in a relationship as well. It was really interesting because I thought I wanted this, this, and this. But as I went along with dating, then I was able to realize, oh, it's actually that, and that I value. So I learned a lot about myself. Even if I went out on a few dates, you think you're supposed to be dating this person, but actually you really need this person. I know I can be two types of people. I'm an extrovert, introvert. So I am like a social butterfly, high energy. But then there's another side to me. I'm calm, I'm slow, I'm flow, I'm relaxed. I crave calmness. For years, I thought I wanted like high energy, all these vibes. No, it's actually the opposite I need. I need someone who's calm, patient, keeps me grounded, level headed. And that my partner is like that now. My boyfriend is. So it's really refreshing because it calms me down, chills me out. So you can see the difference then it has on both sides. It's learning, oh, I actually wanted that, but do I actually need the opposite of that? So you're getting curious about your own self. And then when I was dating and in relationships, there was a lot of times I felt unworthy. I think when I got cheated on, I questioned myself a lot. And I feel a lot of girls or men out there listening to this, you do question yourself. You think, why me? But I've learned over time that if that person is going to do it, they're going to do it. So they could be with Naomi Campbell and cheat. You look at all the celebs and they still cheat. Do you know, it is what it is. But a big thing is it's learning that you are worthy. It's the other person. But it does have that effect on you and your inner self, who you are. It does shatter you, but you will always come back. This is the thing. I think all those things needed to happen to me over the last few years. And I do touch on them as reminders for any new listeners coming in as well, to know about my story, because I'm going to dip in and out of all these things that happened to me because you're not alone. I've been through things and you go through things, but they all shape us to who we are. Sometimes they might break us, but they will make us as well. Bit of a tongue teaser there for you. Then beyond relationships this is where I get to the juicy stuff. The one you have with yourself. I mentioned this at the start. So you're going to have the other relationship with your partner and in dating, but then it comes back to yourself. This is huge. You need to value yourself so much, respect yourself so much, put yourself up there. And I remember my friend, I think I said this on a TikTok as well. My friend Gary, like, treats me like an absolute queen. He's in Dubai at the moment, but like treats me like an absolute queen, like such a kind soul. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, God, like if I treat myself really well, like respect, boundaries, value, and then he treats me very well, I was like, that does put me up there of how I treat myself and how others treat me. I was like, how is another man going to compete with that? But it just shows that the level that I was keeping for myself, I was looking after myself, I was respecting myself, and then he was doing that to me and my other friends. So you can see it's like we're building on our own self-respect, increasing our self-love, increasing our worth. We're nearly kind of going up a few little spaces in the ladder. Not that I'm, let's say, up your own arse or you're on a pedestal, not at all, but you're increasing yourself of how you feel about yourself, you know, how you put yourself into the world. It's like when you walk into a room, let's say, if the person walks in and they have their arms folded and their head down, are you going to say they're confident? Probably not. But there could be a person who is going through a lot of stuff and they have their shoulders back, their head up high, and they're like, hi. You're like, oh my God, they're so confident. But you don't know what's going on inside them. But it shows that maybe they've done a bit of the work, or what have they got that I want? And I think a lot of people probably say that about me. I am a confident person, but I always wasn't like this. And I masked an awful lot for the majority of my life. I say only probably the last good few years, going through all the stuff I went through, I am myself now, and I just rock up. I'm like, yeah. And I don't really care what people think of me. I have my moments where, yeah, we probably have a little cry, or someone might say something to you online, or I'm human. But then I'm just like, come here, you have to learn to love yourself or no one else will. And even the one you have with yourself is so important, because when there is toxic people around you, or friends, family, career, or even just like outside natter, that is going to come in and get you on the inside. You're going to believe those stories, what people say, or if they don't support you. And it's learning that you're good enough. So how do we do that? It's reciting off all the good things that you are and why you love yourself, what you have achieved. You have to reflect on the past and how you got to where you are right now. You know, give yourself a pat on the back. I want you to be your own cheerleader today. And I remember listening to this in a Jay Shetty podcast. It was really good. It was all about different types of people you have in your life, you know, like your frenemies, your cheerleaders. You need those cheerleaders. But what I've learned over the last while is you need to be your own cheerleader. So here's a little life hack for you. I remember I wanted to be validated, of course. I want to always share my news if I'd done something good. I achieved this, I achieved that. Like, tell me I'm amazing, tell me I'm good. But then there came a point where I was going to a holistic coach and she said to me, in the first hour you achieve something and you're on that high, I don't want you to tell anybody. I want you to live in that gorgeous bubble that you have created for you, that proudness, that, you know, love, all those good things. And I was like, yeah, I need to sit in that, because the more people you tell, the more that balloon and that bubble is going to dilute and burst. So I've started to do that over the last few years. I share my news maybe with one or two people, but I don't need to tell everybody, because I want to really feel in that energy of I'm proud. I don't want anybody bursting my bubble. I know I'm enough, because we've all been there where something amazing happens to us and we go to our friend and we tell them, oh my God, this is after happening. And they're like, oh, very good. And then you think to yourself, was I that good? God, I don't really feel 100% now. I feel 75%. Then you go and you tell your parent or your partner or your colleague, you're like, oh my God, I did this. They're like, really? You said that? 50%, that bubble is gone. So then the doubt comes in. Oh my God, was I really that bad? Should I have said something? You get where I'm going? So now I actually don't do that. So I don't have to question myself. I don't have to doubt myself. I just go off my own accord. I don't need anybody else's validation for it. If I feel I want to share good news, I will, but I don't need to. Because I remember there was a time actually, I said something, I was after giving a talk in DCU. It was for like, you know, entrepreneurs within the area in Drumcondra. And there was a few businesses there and I was talking about wellness. And I was so pumped after. I was like, oh my God, I'm after giving a talk. Like, it's such a 360 circle. And I was meeting my mom after it. And I was on a high. I was so energetic. I was in my energetic self. And I saw my mom and I came in. I was like, oh my God, like I've did this. My mom went to me, just calm down. And I went, what? She said to me, yeah, just like calm down. And I went, no, I won't calm down. I'm actually really excited. I'm really happy and really proud. I'm after doing something like this. And she kind of looked at me and was like, huh? So she didn't really understand at the time, because obviously I was like probably a bit too energetic for her, but the words were probably chosen differently. But I knew she didn't really mean harm by it, but it did hurt me. So then I was like, am I a bit too energetic? Am I a bit too, should I be proud of myself? I started to question myself. So anyways, 2 days went on. I knew she didn't mean anything by it, but I did say it to her then. I was like, hey, mom, I was like, you actually hurt me the other day. And she's like, oh my God, Emma, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize, blah, blah, blah. So it is calling people out if they hurt you or burst your bubble or anything like that. It's okay to say that. A lot of us, I don't think, do. And I would have never brought that up, whether it was with my parents or my friends. I would have just cracked on. Yeah, of course, you can crack on. There's loads of times that we all crack on. But there's one or two times if you do feel a little bit let down or hurt, you are allowed to bring that up with another person and communicate that to them. Because how do they know your emotional needs if you don't even communicate that to them? So it's really important to do that as well, because I am a sensitive soul and I'm an empath. I'm totally different to my sisters and anyone else in my family. I'm the little crab, hard on the outside, soft on the inside, because I'm a Cancerian. But they know that because I always communicate that to them. And they have came to understood me a lot more. But I have learned a lot more about how to regulate my emotions. I would have had overwhelmed outburst, anxiety, where now I'm like, okay, what's going on in my body? Am I feeling this way? I question myself in a good way an awful lot, how I show up and how to regulate my emotions as well. Another part is in relationships with yourself so I've touched on toxic dynamics and how it can make you feel, your family dynamics I've touched on, but a big thing is in career. So pursuing what lights you up and standing up for yourself. I think when I worked in corporate and in retail, I absolutely loved it. But there were times where you are a small fish in a big pond and you don't want to splash that water. You don't want to rock that boat. But sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. It's okay to be nice and actually say, hey, I didn't really like the way you spoke to me in that meeting, or hey, can I talk to you for a second, and just run through that. A lot of us probably don't say things to people in work because they just think, oh, I can go home at 5 o'clock and I have to go back in. No, you need to learn to stand up for yourself and to speak up for yourself as well, because at the end of the day, it's your livelihood. You spend 40 hours a week in there. You get paid to do that job, and it's supposed to be a nice, enjoyable environment. There's going to be times, we might hate work, or you might absolutely love work, but there's going to be times where there's going to be conflict there, like a relationship as well. There's going to be those icky times in meetings, or someone doesn't say something you like, but you're allowed to say, can we have a chat for a minute? See eye to eye, create a partnership, get better with communication. And what will that grow? Your inner confidence. You see where I'm going with this. A big one is the power of no. The power of saying no. So no is a full sentence. But I do think it's all about not what you say, how you say it. So if you ask me to go out for brunch tomorrow, I'm not going to say no. I'll say, listen, I actually have a few things on tomorrow. Do you mind if I give you a text the weekend and we can catch up? Totally different. And I even say this to my clients as well. A lot of us have fear over saying no. We don't want to let people down. This is where the people pleasing comes in. But it's how comfortable you feel about saying no in your way. Okay, what does saying no look like to me? And I want you to ask that to yourself. Okay, it means, listen, can I come back to you on that? I actually can't make tonight. Can I give you a text during the week? I'm really busy. I'll give you a call next week. Do you see where I'm going with this? So relaxed, but you're not over explaining yourself. Sorry, I can't make tonight because my dog ate my homework and then I have to You don't need to explain yourself. You don't have to explain yourself. You can if you want. That's no problem. But you see where I'm going with it. You just have to be sincere, be nice, honor yourself, and find out what no looks like for you. The next one is learning to walk away. That is in relationships, that's in friendships. It's in circumstances. Even it means if you're queuing in Super Value and it's starting to piss you off, you're like, do you know what? I don't need milk today. I'm going to walk away. There you go. Just honor yourself. There's been times where I've been in a queue, went to the post office at Christmas time. I had to queue in there. I was selling some bits on Vinted. And I was queuing up. There was about 30 people. I was like, right, Emma, we're going to honor this. We're going to sit in. Straight away, the anxiety was going up inside me. I was like, I haven't got 40 minutes. Even though I had 40 minutes, my body was telling me something, being like, I don't like this. It's making me feel uneasy. So I just went, fuck it. See you later. Surrendered. And that was it. Stuff went back in the car. I can do it tomorrow. I learned to walk away. Do you get me? So it's learning all these things about your inner self and the relationship you have with yourself. It's so important. So you can see the two dynamics there now, because the last thing then to touch on is with your inner voice, it's your gut, your inner compass, I called it. And I've said this before, that is going to guide you in the right direction. A lot of us don't lean into that. There's been so many times where you go into a situation and you think, oh my God, I knew something was off there. Oh, why did that happen? And you're raging with yourself. No. We need to start listening to here. And that is going to guide you. That's your inner voice. Your inner gut is your inner voice. That's your higher self. That's the one that's going to protect you and redirect you. So listen to that. So to summarize things up, and I have, I think, 10 things that worked really well for me in really increasing my own self-worth for myself. So the first one is self-talk. Listening to yourself and catching yourself when you have those negative comments towards yourself. Me, I would have woke up most of my life calling myself, you need to do this, you need to do that. Some days it comes up, but it's learning to shut yourself off. Your weight is not your worth. You are healthy. You are happy. How you speak to yourself is the house you live in. You want to create a lovely space within yourself because you can always work on yourself. So self-talk is huge. Learning to be a lot more positive within yourself. Journal affirmations. Stick little affirmations in your car or in your desk or even something on your screensaver. Say something good to yourself every single day. Or if you find that you say something negative to yourself, I want you to say 5 good things. The more you do that, then the more positive that creates. You don't go to the negative all the time because we're wired as humans to do that. I want you to be more positive to yourself. Oh my God, Emma, you're healthy. You're happy. You have a body that is healthy. You fit into these clothes. You're able to eat nice foods. You're able to move your body. Like all these things that we actually take advantage of because we slate ourselves because sometimes we don't feel enough because of our size. So self-talk, number 1. Number 2, I did touch on therapy and journaling. The art of talking to someone is huge. Whether it's therapy, whether it's an holistic approach, Reiki, even energetically in your body, and then journaling, writing things down. If you don't feel like talking, learn to write it down and let go. Number 3 is alone time. Learning to be alone by yourself and be your own best friend. I learned this hugely over the last few years and I love it. I've been solo traveling. I done the Camino last year. This year I'm going back on the Camino. I'm actually, even though I'm in a new relationship now, I'm actually itching to get away by myself for a few days. That is my way of retreating with the whole external. I'm like, I just need to come back to myself, maybe have a spa break or even a night away just to come back to me and breathe. If I don't get that alone time by myself now, I feel like I'm going to combust. Like I need to retreat all the time. So alone time is good and be your own best friend. The next one is boundaries. You need to have not only boundaries with other people, but boundaries with yourself as well. Okay, what feels good? What doesn't feel good? What does respect look like for me? And how can I respect myself even more? Number 4, your values. Values are huge. We've tapped into that. What are your core values? Get that piece of paper, write it down. Number 5 is saying your needs out loud. Women and men, we are not mind readers. So you need to say your needs, whether you're in a relationship or not, or even to your family or your friends. What are your needs? What are they? So then they're going to be different from the other person. So you're allowed to say, here, listen, I really feel I need to see you this weekend and have a catch up. I'm feeling a little bit, I'm not the best. Say that. It's okay. Number 6 is be around good people. A lot of us think we are supposed to be around everyone, but choose like your top 4 or 5 people, or even 2. It doesn't have to be. Who are the people that make you feel really good, light you up? Because there's 2 types of people in this world. We have energy givers and energy takers. I call them radiators and drains. Radiators are going to warm you up, make you feel warm, cozy, should I say, and you just feel great. Then drains, you're wrecked. You literally walk out and you're absolutely zonked. So pick out who those radiators are in your life and surround yourself with them. Next one is celebrate your small wins. It's all about your past strengths, what you worked through, those hard times, what you have achieved. A lot of us constantly just move through onto the next, instead of going, Jesus, I really need to take stock. And it's like Paul Merriman brought it up on the podcast there, relating back to 2016 to where we are now. Look at the last 10 years of your life. What have you worked through? What have you accomplished? Where are you now? I guarantee you, your jaw will be on the floor and you'll be like, whoa, because we never stop and take stock. Then the last one, the last 2 is social media and comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. So it's learning to put blinkers on, whether you need to delete, mute, whatever it is, and look at things that inspire you, that make you feel good, that you want to go onto social media and check, or you don't mind showing up on your page. It's okay. It's okay just to get a little bit more filtered through what you are consuming. The last one is treating yourself. Learn to treat yourself. Treat yourself like a king, queen. Now, it doesn't have to be a designer handbag or any of that stuff. To a coffee. Bring yourself for a walk. Is it a spa day? Is it getting your hair done? Is it something nice like a sound bath, or you want to book a solo trip by yourself? Treat yourself. You put enough time, energy, and money into the other things around you, whether you have a mortgage, you have bills, you have children, you have people. When was the last time you treated yourself to something? It could be something so small, whether it is a nice meal, the M&S meal deal, or bringing yourself for a manicure, little things like that. And last but not least, even though I've given you the 10, I'm going to add one on more, is access to your time. Your time has a limit because energy is currency. You need to spend it wisely. I'm just going to run over those top 10 so you know what they are. First thing is your self-talk. Number 2 is therapy or journaling. Number 3 is alone time and being your own best friend. 4, boundaries. 5, say your needs out loud. 6, your values. 7, surround yourself with good people. 8, celebrate those small wins and the past strengths. 9, treat yourself. And the last one is, access and time. So I think I really unpacked a good few things for you between what self-esteem is and what self-worth is. It's going to change the relationship you have with yourself and in relationships and the partner you choose. Self-love changes the way you love, the way you are treated, and the life you build. And I have a little note here, which I wrote last night as well. And I just wanted to give a bit of reflection because solo episodes are very vulnerable for me, even though you might think I'm very confident and I share so freely with no nerves. It does give me nerves. That's the thing, because I'm being open and honest, and the things I say on my pod, I don't share out in the open. So you're part of this journey with me on my own healing journey, because I'm doing it not only to help myself, but to help someone out there as well, because we're just trying to navigate life. So I said, I wish I had known earlier that I am enough. We are all enough. And it's not about changing someone else. It's about showing up fully as ourselves. So I hope you love that episode. And, it does give me a little in my heart. But if I'm helping even one person out there, my job is done. Thanks so much. I'll see you